Well, if you can believe it, I only just recently learned that more movies have been added to this franchise, so I decided to get caught up on them. So, talking about Leatherface, the prequel to Texas Chainsaw 3D, and the original Texas Chainsaw. On its own, I think it actually is a nice movie. They did a great job of introducing new characters, making the setting be believable, and trying to tie it in with 3D's continuity, the idea of family sticking together. There, the deaths were brutal, the supporting characters, however they mattered, were done decently well, minus that lead sheriff's character and the last decision that the protagonist made right at the end to help him out. Um, but at the same time, purists will definitely look at the actual continuity and go, it's really tough to tie these movies in together, especially with the original, because the original didn't have a backstory, you didn't need one, and 3D did kind of mess up the original movie, and this one I think arguably messes it up even more, because I don't think that the ages of the characters add up. Maybe they do, and I'm sure that there's other things that I could complain about, but it doesn't really seem like the most worthwhile thing to get into. So, on its own, it's a nice movie. It really is. I really enjoyed watching it, but the critique side, it suffers because of those continuity errors, even though there really was no way to do it unless you reboot the franchise from the ground up, and this is an example where they don't really seem to want to do that, even though Michael Bay technically already did, you know. So, 4 out of 5 with it on its own merit. When you tie it into everything else, it suffers, so I'll dock it a point for that. But I did enjoy it. And then the 2022 Netflix movie, even though this originally wasn't supposed to be a Netflix movie, but it totally carries the feel of a Netflix movie. That attempt at tying the two movies together, I feel like was even worse. Now, one could argue that because they deliberately chose to put less effort into tying it in, it only say, this is what happened to this character, a couple of these things happened, doesn't that make it better? On paper, yes. But in execution, I don't think so. So there you go. I mean, I think that the kills were done fairly nicely. Yeah, it was over the top, but that's kind of the theme of the movie, and also it did fit that bus scene, I freely admit it. Just total chaos, total gore with all the strobe effects, and just, it fit. Did it get drawn out a little? Yeah, but there were other times that stuff was drawn out in this franchise. It was. So, I'll let that slide. This incarnation of Leatherface, menacing, yes, but only when you look at him. With the background, it sucked. This version of Sally, menacing, but I totally do not believe the going from A to B in this situation. It just doesn't feel right. Yes, PTSD can do a lot to a person, but it really does not feel right. And then also that gas station attendant, how he just drops off after that other little cameo that he has. I totally expected that they were going to do more with him, but they didn't. And then that last kill in this movie, I mean, like, I've seen plenty of other movies do this, but it was just totally, yeah, let's just prank you one last time. Whereas other times that they did this, the reboot for Nightmare on Elm Street, reboot for Friday the 13th, original Nightmare on Elm Street, it fit. Because even though you thought that everyone was safe, the vibe was just the teeniest bit off in those scenes. So when you saw it, it worked like a charm. And then when Scream parodies it, even though I hadn't really seen any real slasher movies up until that point, careful, this is the moment where the supposedly dead killer comes back for one last scare, I'm like, he's right. It totally is. So, But this time, ugh. And also, I don't really like how they did the switch from, having the sister that you thought was the protagonist actually becoming less important as the movie goes along. That did not work well at all in my mind. And, there's no way that they're going to do a sequel to this. Because, it barely gets talked about among fans from what I can recall. And it's just there to just keep the franchise going. Yeah. Although, of course, pretty sure it was Lionsgate. I think that they did want to make a sequel, but because of problems, they ended up losing the rights. Well, they would have done a better job with the new continuity because it would have made a little more sense for their works. When you throw in the original, as I said, it doesn't really work as well. But this, it was there just to be there. Now, that's not to say that this franchise can't come out with good movies. It can. As I said, I liked lots of things in Leatherface on its own. I thought the Michael Bay verse was good because the second one has improved in my mind, even though I haven't watched it yet. And I did enjoy quite a lot of bits from the first three, even though I was disturbed at the same time by a lot of them, and I bet the only one of those three I'd ever buy is the original. Right. But it just requires steady writing, It can be done. It's not like Friday the 13th, where a lot of people just recognize that these movies aren't going to be that good, and yet the fans keep coming back. Because also the behind-the-scenes story that connects a lot of those movies, that is interesting. That's why I bought all of them. But that's something that this franchise just doesn't have, it seems. Minus the first movie. Okay, so, what did I rate this movie? 3 out of 5 critique, but 2 out of 5 personally, and I think that's what I'm going to call it at. And yeah, that takes care of this. See ya.